The weather is going to change a ton over the next few days as another Arctic blast will be ushering in cold air across much of the United States. Several more storms are on the horizon, bringing the potential for some severe weather and additional snowfall. And we'll also give you a preview to what we think will happen on Christmas and if you will see a white Christmas this year. So in today's forecast, we're going to break down exactly what you need to know about the weather that'll be impacting the United States over the next 10 days. And we'll begin with what's happening across the country this morning, and things are still relatively active out there. We've had this large storm moving across the Midwest this morning. This brought tons of ice to areas like Iowa and Nebraska yesterday. There was an ice storm warning in effect for much of southeastern Iowa yesterday. There were some power outages out of that, and the roadways were very slick. A lot of them were not treated, and unfortunately there were several accidents really early in the morning yesterday. But luckily this is moving more to the northeast, and the ice threat is definitely diminishing. Only a little bit of freezing rain left in areas like Michigan this morning. And eventually, as we go into tonight, this will start to fall apart as it moves into New England, mostly going to be producing just some rain and maybe also a little bit of snow. Back over on the West Coast, things have been a little bit crazy over here. First thing I want to point out, this is obviously a large amount of moisture, but the second thing, we actually had a tornado yesterday. And there was an EF1 tornado just outside of San Francisco around 1:30 yesterday afternoon. It actually produced some significant damage. It was only on the ground for 4 minutes, but that happened over in Scotts Valley in California. So definitely a rare event there. Now the good news is that the severe weather on the West Coast is done. Overall, we do have a risk though today back over in the southern plains, a marginal threat across Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas, where there could be some isolated hail and damaging winds. And then as we go into tomorrow, I wouldn't rule out some isolated severe weather as this storm, another storm system, will track a little bit further to the east, maybe some sort of low-end threat somewhere between Kentucky back into northeast Texas. Now the weather's going to be changing a ton over the next 7 days as we are going to see another active weather pattern with several different large storms and yet again another large Arctic blast. So let's break this down into more detail, first with the jet stream. And overall, the jet stream will be relatively lifted off to the north here to begin the week, a more zonal jet stream which should allow for warmer weather to basically build across much of the Great Plains and anywhere basically east of the Rocky Mountains. On the flip side, things will be a bit cooler back over on the West Coast due to the active storm pattern that we've had over the last few days. As we go into the middle of the week, that is when our first big dip in the jet stream will come, and that is when we're going to start to see some cold air coming out of Canada really around Wednesday and Thursday across the Midwest and the Ohio Valley. But it even gets larger as we go into Friday into Saturday, where we're going to even have a larger dip in the jet stream on the eastern tier of the United States. But look at this, back over on the West Coast, we're going to have a huge high pressure system building warm and dry air for the West Coast and as well as the Rocky Mountains. And then beyond this, we will likely see that trough mingle back over in New England in the northeast, and we could even see another storm system just in time for Christmas, and we'll talk more about the early Christmas outlook here in just a few minutes. Let's talk more about the temperature pattern, and then we'll go more into the large storm potential and if we'll see severe weather, snow, all that sort of stuff. Beginning first with the temperatures, overall we are still dealing with above average temperatures anywhere from the Great Plains back into the Midwest and even the Great Lakes region, dealing with well above average temperatures. Back over in the Pacific Northwest, things are relatively around, if not just below average, but that'll change as we go into the middle of the week, as we are going to get our first shot of cold air around Wednesday, and this will move first across the northern plains and then eventually into the Ohio Valley and as well as the Midwest on Wednesday and Thursday. Warm air will build back over on the West Coast. As we go into late Thursday and into Friday, that first shot of cold air will move into the Northeast and the Mid-Atlantic and even down into areas like Florida, but it won't be super powerful. I think the second shot of cold air will be a little bit more powerful as we go into Friday and Saturday, which this one will more than likely build into a much more sizable cold air mass across areas like the Great Plains, the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, the Southeast, and all up and down really the East Coast as we go into Saturday. And then eventually by Sunday into Monday, this thing just continues to build, at least on the GFS model. So this is definitely something to keep a close eye on. There could be some changes since this is still about 5 to 7 days out, but if this does happen, there will be a potential for some record-breaking temperatures in areas like North and South Carolina. So definitely something to keep a close eye on down over there. And then as we go into Christmas, a little, again, preview to what we might see. The GFS model has been pretty consistent with showing Torchmas in the United States, essentially meaning above average temperatures for much of the country. So definitely something to keep an eye on there. So if we indeed do see a big Arctic blast, what would the temperatures look like right before Christmas? Well, right now, the GFS model is bringing the potential by Monday of next week to see temperatures even into the teens and also 20s across areas like Florida, Georgia, South South Carolina, North Carolina, and Virginia, with even some single digits and below zero temperatures back over in the Midwest and the Great Lakes region. Again, there is plenty of time for this to change, but it is definitely a weather pattern that would be relatively significant if it does end up happening. The Climate Prediction Center is on board with this as well, indicating a high likelihood of below average temperatures anywhere east, essentially, of the Great Plains, and then above average temperatures are likely back over anywhere west of the Great Plains, right down the dividing line there. Overall, it's kind of neutral, but it really looks pretty solid in terms of what we're going to be seeing in terms of our weather pattern here over the next couple of weeks. And again, this is from December 20th until December 24th. Now let's talk more about the future radar for the next 10 days and give you an idea of where we might see some snow, where we'll be seeing some rain, severe weather, or if you're going to see nothing. Beginning with what's happening today, we do have that system that is weakening across parts of the Ohio Valley. A little bit of snow is expected tonight into parts of Pennsylvania and New York, a couple of inches being possible, but nothing too crazy there. As we go into tomorrow, things do get pretty interesting. We're gonna have this Clipper system back up here in Canada bringing some snow, not really to the United States, but back up in parts of Canada just north of Minnesota. On the flip side, we're gonna have a lot of moisture streaming here across the Ohio Valley and the Southern Plains and the Mississippi River. This will bring the threat for really just some heavy rainfall, but I wouldn't rule out some isolated severe weather as we go into Monday afternoon if we do see some destabilization here in this little pocket that's anywhere from northeast Texas back into western Kentucky. I think the risk is relatively low, but it is something to watch for. A very low chance, though, overall of us seeing anything severe. As we go into Tuesday, things start to kind of clear out for much of the country. Another storm will eventually build as we go into Wednesday. That is when our first shot of cold air will come out of Canada. There will be some snow and some rain anywhere from Texas back into the Ohio Valley and the Great Lakes region. As we go into late Wednesday into Thursday, that eventually moves along the East Coast. And then as we go into late Thursday into Friday of next week, that is when things do become more uncertain, but there's a pretty good chance with that second Arctic blast, we'll see some level of a winter weather event, maybe even a winter storm as we get closer to that. So areas like the Midwest, Ohio Valley, and Northeast, something to keep an eye on if you're traveling as we go into next weekend. And then a little early preview at what we might see around Christmas time. Again, things are definitely going to change. Take this with a grain of salt. It actually shows freezing rain back over in Oklahoma and Texas. Again, there's a very high likelihood that that will definitely change, but it does show some sort of wintry weather, maybe some sort of snow as we get closer to Christmas Day. Again, this has been changing a lot over the last few days. Definitely nothing set in stone as of right now, and no big winter storm or blizzard right now in the forecast for really any time around Christmas. In terms of the dew points tomorrow, again, this is something to watch for. We'll have dew points into the low and mid 60s from Texas back into western Kentucky. So again, if things do destabilize, I do think severe weather will be a possibility. In terms of total rainfall between now through about Friday of this week, we're going to see plenty of it across areas like the Ohio Valley, Southern Plains, back into the Great Lakes region, and also the Northeast. And even down in Florida, there will be some rain activity down there as well. GFS model all the way through the end of this year, so by December 31st, is showing a plume of rain on both the west coast of the United States, specifically the Pacific Northwest, and then back over in the Ohio Valley, Dixie Alley, and Northeast. Again, obviously subject to change since there are still several days out until we see anything like that. We'll continue to see atmospheric rivers, though, back over in the Pacific Northwest. Several inches of rain are expected over the next few days. And then in terms of total snowfall accumulation between now and Friday of this week, again, most of the snow that we are going to see over the next 5 days or so will be mostly in the Northeast out of what we're seeing today and tomorrow, and then back over in the Pacific Northwest. There is a chance that we see a bit more of a significant snow event as we go into Friday in the upper Midwest, Great Lakes, and the Northeast, but again, that does remain uncertain at this time, and anything beyond Christmas is a very high uncertainty since it is obviously still well over 10 days out from now. Now, this is the GEFS Ensemble members in terms of snowfall coverage that we could see by Christmas Day or on Christmas Day. Right now, the highest likelihood of you seeing a white Christmas would be anywhere back over in the higher elevations of the Pacific Northwest, the far northern plains, or back over into areas like Michigan, Wisconsin, or maybe even back up in the Northeast. But if you're anywhere south, basically, of these circles, there's a pretty good chance you will not be seeing snow this Christmas. But again, things could definitely change, so make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and we'll keep you posted with the latest on what might be happening closer to Christmas. And a big announcement before today's video ends: I am doing personalized videos for the holidays, so if you want me to make a message for you or a friend or a family member, you can get one with the top link in the description below on Cameo. And if you want a special guest like Cheese Curd my cat to be in it, I will try my best to do so. Just put it in like the notes for the personalized video, and I'll try my best to do that. There is a 30% discount for the next couple of days, so if you want to pick one up, it is going to be discounted until December 17th, and then after that, it'll be back to its normal price, as I will be more than likely traveling around the Christmas time frame, so it'll be hard harder for me to do these. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe if you've not already.